they always talk about niching down, right? Like find your niche, find your niche, find your niche. And I was like, well, hockey is my niche. I played my whole life. That's how what got me my, my scholarship to earn my degree and whatever was hockey. And so I was like, I want to work with hockey people because one, hockey people are the best. You don't meet too many bad hockey people, right? And two, hockey is a sport financially that typically you have to be a little bit like upper middle class, maybe a higher class financially to play the sport because it's expensive. And so I was thinking, I was like, hey, my ideal client is hockey people. I also want to work with well-financed people. Like, what's more perfect than just like labeling the hockey realtor and just buying into that shtick and being that person?
Tom, Matt, welcome everybody to Pucks to Properties. This episode, we got Matt Van Voorhis. He's not only an NCAA Division I national champion. Tom Mealy is not. Me and Matt have a lot in common. Tom is out. But anyway, before we introduce Matt, Mealy, why do we do this, or why did you not win a national championship? Forget why we do this for a second. How come you did not win a national championship? What happened?
I'm not good enough. And the team I played for was dog shit when I was in college.
Well,
now they're good. Now they're good. They're a powerhouse now from what I hear. I went back for alumni weekend a month or so ago, and it's completely revamped program, nothing like when I was there. So hopefully they'll bring one home to Mass soon. But yeah, I didn't have the pedigree that Matt did when I was in college. So U.S. national program, Denver, just one of those guys. I hated all of them when I was coming up. Just fucking spoon-fed everything, and
jealousy will get you nowhere. Jealousy will get you nowhere. No, we're just breaking stones here. But anyway, welcome to Pucks Are Proper. So Tom, why do we do this?
Why do we do this? We do this because eventually the game will come to an end, and we all played Division I, we all played pro, and we still want to be involved in some way, shape, or form. This is a platform for guys that are making the transition, have already made the transition. Matt is in a market that we are not in. So if we ever did tap into that market, potentially having him as a boots on the ground rep there would be huge. And guys want to do business with other guys that they like. And there's no other guys that are better than hockey players. So that's the main reason, but it's also to help guys make that jump, because I know it's a very, very difficult time when the game does come to an end from doing something that you've known your whole life. And we got to figure out what's next, because it does come to an end someday. So this is an outlet. It's a platform. It's guys to bullshit. It's guys to network. And it's also, potentially guys doing business together. So that's why we started this.
Very nice. And we will give we'll get Tom a little better background, because he's in an office. He doesn't like turning his lights on for some weird ass reason. Doesn't like turning his lights on.
Good?
Oh, there you go. You can't deposit excuses. That's a little better. A little better. I like that. But no. And obviously, this is brought to you every week by obviously a couple companies that we own. One of them is a Riva Global, which is a premier virtual assistant company that I've owned since 2004. Also, our Perch Rock company, which is a real estate investment company. We do a lot. We do a lot in the brokerage world, which Matt's in right now. Matt is also, before we jump in this call, going to be getting into the investment world too, which is a natural progression for a lot of individuals like us, Matt, myself, obviously Tom, same thing, getting into the world of investing, but a lot of us start in the agent world. But without further ado, Matt, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself besides, obviously throwing Tom on an island over there and not winning a national championship, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
Tom was just laying the foundation for the future.
Pioneer.
Yeah, exactly. So my name's Matt Van Voorhis. I'm based out of White Bear Lake, Minnesota. So just outside the Twin Cities. We're about 25 minutes on the northeast side. So about 15 minutes north of St. Paul. I got into the industry about 3.5 years ago, like a lot of guys playing in the East Coast League. Just COVID forced us out. We had to figure out something quick. So that kind of catapulted my career into where I'm at now. I'm actually originally from Grand Forks, North Dakota. and moved down to the cities when I was 12. So shamelessly, I will say I was a huge University of North Dakota fan up until I committed to the University of Denver, and then became a huge North Dakota hater from there on out. But I still do have a lot of friends and family that either attended there or are currently there. So I can't hate them too much.
Were you one of those guys that committed at like 12 years old?
No, I wasn't that early. I was 16. Actually, no, I just turned 17. It was about this time, however many years ago when I was 17. So it would have been like what?
He's good.
Now it was a long time ago.
Good. Good
player. So Matt is 31, just so everybody knows. Matt's 31. You played with 3 years pro after school?
Yep, played 3 years pro. So I started over in Europe, played 2 years in Norway, and then came back to the U.S. and played in the coast for 3/4 of a year before they canceled our season, and then that was that.
So we'll get to that in a second. How is playing in Norway? I'd never played in Norway. I played in Sweden on different national team tournaments. I played in Finland, and never up in Norway. How is it?
It's actually better hockey than even I anticipated. Kind of coming out of college, I knew I wanted to go to Europe, and I just got a call from some local or some agent who was just like, "Oh, I can help you get over to Europe, blah blah blah." And he's like, "I got a team in Norway. It's right in Oslo." And I was like, "Great, I'll sign." I wanted to live in a cool city, whatever. And the hockey there is actually pretty good. Like there was a couple guys in the league that had NHL careers, KHL careers, SHL careers, stuff like that. There's actually one guy I played against my first year. His name was Patrick Thorson. I think he was in the Philadelphia Flyer system. And anyway, he was from Norway, and so it was kind of his retirement lap, playing for his hometown. And he was leading the league in points. In the previous year, I don't know if it was the previous year or 2 years previous, he was the scoring leader in the KHL for St. Petersburg. He played on a line with Kovalchuk. So they called him. Yeah, so they called him about, I don't know, it was like 2-3 months in, and they were like, "Hey, we want you to come back. We'll sign you for $1 million." And so the guy paid back the Norwegian team his salary, and then went and played in St. Petersburg for $1 million. So kind of,
because you're probably not getting paid $1 million in Norway.
No, I think the top guys are maybe making 100. There's one team that paid pretty well. Otherwise, everyone else has pretty average salaries. But it's good. It's just like run and gun hockey. Like the Norwegian kids they skate really well, and they can handle the puck. They just, the hockey sense isn't quite there, but it's starting to get a lot better now. You're seeing in like international play, they're making a lot of the big tournaments and things like that. So it was fun hockey.
So did you go solo? So this is obviously building up to obviously how you got into real estate, but obviously now you're married. How did that turn about? Did you go there by yourself? Did you bring, I think it was a girlfriend at the time. I don't know if it was your wife, but what did that look like?
Yeah, I was single. I just went over there alone, and I ended up living with 2 Americans, 1 Canadian kid, and then we ended up picking up a couple guys throughout the year. So it was kind of nice. We had, I think, 5 or 6 import players over with us, so it made it a little bit easier. You had guys to hang out with and things like that. And then Norway was it's easy in general because everyone speaks English, so you never really get stuck in a situation where you don't know what's going on or what people are saying. So it was for like a first year in Europe, it was a good transition league.
How's the bar scene out there?
That's expensive.
Is it really?
Yeah, so Norway is just an expensive country in general, and so when you're making minor league money, you got to be a little bit smart with picking your time and place. But I mean, you're living in a big city, so it was fun, and you kind of lean on the Norwegian guys to show you the local spots or where all the girls are hanging out, whatever. And so it was pretty fun. A little bit, you could get your club scene, or you could get your kind of like pub scene. So it was good though. We had a good time.
Yeah, I played in Milan, Italy. So I played in Hamburg, Germany, Lugano, Switzerland. I was in Geneva. So a lot of those, bigger towns were fun. They were fun. Good times.
We did. So my first year in Germany, in Norway, we would do our end of the year team trip. They would you'd collect fines all year or whatever, and then the captains would set up a trip, but they wouldn't tell you where we were going until like 2 days before. They'd be like, bring these clothes. So you'd pack those clothes, you'd show up to the airport, they'd give you a ticket, you'd fly wherever. And so the trip was in Hamburg. And so we went to the Reeperbahn in Hamburg.
Oh yeah. I've been there a couple times.
And it was that was something else, but it was fun.
We'll leave those stories over there. But
yeah, exactly.
In all seriousness, this is one of the reasons why Tom and I always say, play as long as you can. And there's always a time that it comes to an end, but especially when you're younger, coming out of college, coming out of juniors, if you have the opportunity to go to Europe, and your NHL dream is dashed like ours was, right? You didn't make the NHL, but you're still good enough to be able to play over in United States. I would say definitely go to Europe. All three of us did, and I think the experience is just like you said. You get the whatever jar, the swear jar, or whatever jars you make where you raise money on a team and have those little stories there. You will never get the opportunity unless you actually take those steps in that direction. So kudos to you, Tom. You want to add to that? Because I know, you've done the European journey. We talk about this all the time.
Yeah, no, I'm curious why after school right overseas instead of trying to, go through the quote unquote normal route here first.
Yeah. So I played for Jim Montgomery, who's head coach of the Boston Bruins, and just really, really intelligent guy. Obviously, like you don't get to that level without having some hockey intelligence. And throughout my college career, I had back issues. I herniated 3 discs in my lower back. And so I was, his advice to me was, the ECHL was probably not going to be the best for me because you're sitting on a lot of buses. You're playing 70 games, 3-3s. He's like, your back's just not going to hold up, which he ended up being right. Throughout my back, my year in Kalamazoo in the East Coast League. But so he's like, go over to Europe, just enjoy it. You'll play less games. It'll be a fun experience, and so I took his advice, went over there. And so that's how I ended up just jumping over there right away. Then the reason I came back to play in the coast was, the team I enjoyed my time playing with the team I was on, but it was a smaller budget team. I wanted to make that next step, and kind of the hurdle that was holding me back is a lot of these teams, they're the bigger budget teams that I wanted to go to. They're like, well, he doesn't have enough experience, or I didn't have ECHL or American Hockey League experience. And so I was like, you know what, screw it. I'll go back and prove myself then. So then that's how I ended up back. And then I threw out my back about halfway through the season, just like Monty had said. So it was kind of one of those that should have just kept grinding it out, in the smaller teams for a couple more years until I eventually got the resume. But
yeah, he knows a little bit of what's going on. Not only incredible college career. I played against him in college. So he was in Maine when I was at BU. So he's a pretty impressive dude. He's got a great resume. But so what decided? I know I saw you you graduated with a degree in business and real estate. Did you always know you wanted to get into real estate? Like, walk us through that kind of thought process there.
Yeah. So my degree in college was called Real Estate in the Built Environment at the business school. And so at BU, so it's a property development degree. So your classes are construction management classes and then real estate finance classes. And how we ended up on it was me and a couple of buddies were just walking back to the dorms, and one of the, I don't know if it's professor, or I can't remember what her title was in the real estate school, but she had a little booth sitting outside the dorms. And so we stopped, started talking to her, and we were like, let's just do it. Like, real estate sounds great. Everyone you talk to, you kind of the money you make out of it is what you put into it, and commissions and whatever. And that was kind of where I saw myself just being a competitive person. And so that was really just literally probably the most simple like sales tactic of just sitting at a booth and talking to people was how I got sold on getting into the industry. And that was my start. And so then obviously DU has a really good real estate program in general. I found most of our classes were real estate professionals that were teaching as kind of a way to give back. And so all the classes I took was, real people in the industry, their knowledge, how they built their business or whatever the case may be. And I just remember the class that stuck out to me the most was from a guy named Jeff Hanlon, and he's a developer out in Denver. And the class itself was a property development class, and kind of his business model was they buy the land, they entitle it, they put all the service, the roads, the water, all the services, and then they'll sell it to a home builder like Lennar, DR Horton, whatever, to take some of that risk off of DR or Lennar having to do all that themselves.
Mhm.
And he built a nice little business out of it. And the whole class was just him going through one of his projects that he had just sold to Lennar, and how going through the acquisition, the entitlement, putting the services in, selling it, then Lennar, having the lots, building them out, and then building them out, not just building all the houses at once, but building a section and then building the next, and then using those as comps and blah blah blah. And so it takes you through that whole process from front to back. And that was really the class that I was like, oh wow, there's something here. I really like this, and this could be profitable and in a way for me to build some, or I don't know, generational wealth is the right term, but just some wealth for my family for the future. So
see, I love that, because I literally was on a podcast yesterday and I was talking through what the problem is with regular schools, typical education. Like I went to BU as a sociology major. I don't even know what the hell that means, right? It's the dumbest thing ever. It's just basically, you hope you make the NHL and you'll figure it out later. That's what that degree is, right? But going through this and hearing that, and actually having the story I was talking about yesterday was the challenge with regular education is you take a class, but there's no implementation plan given to you after you take that class, right? How do you apply that to regular life? How do you apply that to society? This particular class, this is the first time I've ever heard of a college or a university. I would have taken that. I would have jumped into this all day long. And I probably would have quit hockey sooner if I would have known I had this behind me. But did this class, so obviously this was a huge part in kind of a driving factor for you to get into real estate, right? This one individual who's probably one of your mentors today. Did that help you on the transition of saying, yeah, you know what, now it's time. I know I have back issues, but am I going to try to play another year? Did this help you with the confidence of jumping into real estate?
Yeah, it was, to be honest. So when I was playing in Kalamazoo in the ECHL, right when I found out COVID was kind of happening, or it was looking like they were going to cancel the season, I knew, I was like, okay, this is my next step is hopping into real estate. So I reached out to the Professional Hockey Players Association, the PHPA, and said, hey, I know you guys say you'll pay for college classes or things like that. I was like, I already have my degree. Would you be willing to pay for my real estate classes so I can transition out of the game, or have my backup plan, if this drags on, which it ended up dragging on, because I had signed a contract to go back the next year, and then Kalamazoo folded for the year because then, in terms of, I guess a political standing, whatever you want to call it, the owners of our team is Stryker Med Device, or the owners of Stryker Med Device Company. And so, based on politics and whatever, they just had to fold the team for the year because, it was obviously a medical crisis and things like that. And so anyway, I reached out to them and they said, yeah, no problem. We'll pay for up to, it was like basically all of it, but like $100 for the tests and classes and whatever. And so right away, I was like, yeah, I know this is what I want to do. This is what I went to school for. It allowed me to just transition out. And at the time, I didn't realize it really, but now looking back, it was great because I think my plan was I was going to play hockey as long as I could. And I think once you get to a certain point, your college degree is obviously important, but it becomes less important because you're so removed from school. Whereas when you get into a sales role, like getting into sales, you can go into anything and sell anything, right? You just got to learn how to do it. It doesn't so much take like actual, like if you're an accountant, right? You need some, previous accounting knowledge to be able to get into accounting. I just felt like in sales, you could just hop into sales, learn how to do it, and then you're just building relationships. And it's not so much like I know a lot about a house and how to sell a house and whatever now, but like people don't hire me because of that. They hire me first because of the relationship I have with them. And then the housing part, my knowledge comes in later because I've already have that trust and things like that. So I kind of got a little bit off track there, but I think I knew, coming out of, because I had that in college, I knew, okay, this is what I want to do. And then the PHPA kind of gave me a path to be able to get to it. And then it was just up to me to execute on it essentially. And
that's actually great. I'm actually glad you said that because I did not know that with the PHPA. Tom, did you know that they'll pay for certain educations or licenses?
Yeah, but to the extent of what he was, I only thought it was the firefighting thing. And then what was the other one?
Police, I think police department, and then maybe the CFP.
That sounds right. I didn't know about that. That's wild. Is that recent or has that always been that?
I'm going to be honest. I may have been the first one, because when I brought it to them, at first they were like, I think if I remember right, and I could be just completely making this up in my head, I think they were like, we hadn't heard of anybody wanting to do this, but we'd gladly do it because it's not crazy expensive for them. It probably costs the same about the same as somebody taking a college class. I think it was like they'll give you up to like $800 and some dollars per class. It may have gone up more. So it made it affordable for me. I think it took $100 or $200 out of my pocket to do it. So it's a good little, and I know there are, like different brokers and people like that who have relationships with the PHPA in the real estate industry. And so, they did have connections for me to reach out to people and stuff like that too. So yeah. I think
that's a great resource. I'm glad you just said, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's a great resource. I just want to make sure we highlight that, because there's a lot of players that actually watch this podcast, and that's a huge resource. Go to the PHPA, ask them, obviously, to maybe offset some of the costs. So thank you for bringing that up. That's a golden nugget. It's the first time we've been doing this for a long time. It's the first time anyone's ever said that. So kudos to you on that side of it.
And I would encourage anybody, like, it's like, to get your license and do the classes, whatever, is not, it's just time and effort. It's not rocket science, but it can obviously catapult a career pretty quickly. Whereas, you go to a normal kind of 9-to-5 corporate job, you got to climb the ladder for years and years and years. Whereas when you get to real estate, as long as you do the right things, you get good mentorship, you can kind of take off pretty quickly, which is awesome.
Yeah, my oldest son's 20 years old. He's taking classes right now, so he'll be looking to get his license as well. He's going the junior route. It's a lot different, a lot different than it was when I was younger. But obviously, it's a lot different. But anyway, you could get that. Talk to us real quick, and I know, Tom, there's a lot of things, a lot of nuggets you pulled out and you talked about that we want to kind of dissect a little bit. Tell us a little bit about how you grew up. Like your family were they in real estate? Were they not in real estate? Were they in sales? Were they in whatever? What did that look like?
My parents are both military parents, actually. My mom was National Guard. My dad was an Army Ranger. And then my dad was also a lawyer. He practiced in Grand Forks for quite a few years. And so I think when we moved down to the cities, it was at, kind of the 2005 kind of bubble was, it was right before everything kind of crumbled down. And, my parents had a situation where, they were both out of work. And so my mom got a job in Minneapolis that we moved down to, and that's how we ended up down here. But, we were just blue collar family. Not a, kind of, we weren't like poor by any means, but, living paycheck to paycheck, just, making ends meet and whatever. And, so I really didn't have a lot of sales experience. My whole life was just like grinding it out in hockey and loving the game and playing. But actually where I guess more of the sales experience in the real estate came in is my father-in-law. He sells as well. And he's been his whole life, he had a kid while he was in high school, or my brother-in-law. And then so he didn't get to go to college. And so his whole life he's been he's been working in construction. He had a stucco business for a long time. Now he's selling houses. And so he's always been hustling, and building businesses and things like that. And so he's, my number one mentor, and a really, really intelligent guy. And I appreciate him a lot, because he kind of, when I got into the business, I was, the son-in-law and whatever. At the time, my wife and I were dating, and he took me in, and he's, basically just told me, he's like, Matt, I'll mentor you, whatever, but you're going to work for it. He's like, I'm not giving you anything. And, I'll give you advice, tell you things you should do, take it or leave it if you want to do it. And he taught me how to, I guess, fish the hard way for business, so that, and now I appreciate it a lot, because I've learned to build kind of a sustainable business, and, and be able to generate my own leads and things like that, where I think if I would have gone into the business without somebody guiding me like that, I maybe would have joined a big team where they're feeding you leads. And then obviously, if you're in the industry, the last year was tough for most agents, because they're getting leads and the leads are crap and they weren't being able to convert. And it's like, my business this past year was down a little bit, but I still had a successful year, and he actually had his highest earning year of his career. And he's been in the business for 10 years last year, when most agents were 50% down. So, So I'm pretty lucky and fortunate in that regards.
Love it. Love it. I know, Tom, you got a bunch of questions you got written down.
Yeah, very, very similar story, Matt. My father-in-law actually got me in. I was dating his daughter, and he's been an investor for close to like 35 years now. He's built up quite the portfolio, and it actually made like meeting him a lot easier because we had just stuff to talk about from the beginning. And then obviously, time goes by, and then you become part of the family, and then before you know it, he's at a point now where he's like kind of slowing down. He's not really buying anymore. He's just maintaining what he has. But the fact that like he sees me like doing this, it like gets him all excited. Loves talking about deals. When I'm in, visiting them. He's walking properties with me. He's underneath foundations, got his flashlight and stuff like that. So the fact that he's like back out there again, like looking, and he's part of it. I could see it gets him excited. But then there's days where he's like, I don't fucking care. I don't want to do that. I'm sick of tenants. I'm sick of toilets. I'm sick of all this shit. So it's just funny. It is very relatable. At what point, I know you said you had some injury things.
Yeah.
When you were still in college, like your senior year, were you kind of, I don't want to say checked out, but were you still chasing the NHL dream, or were you kind of thinking that I might play a couple more years and then be done? Or were you like me where COVID ended me? And I say this to these guys, like I hung on probably a year or two longer than I should have, but COVID made it a lot easier for me because of my age and injuries and stuff like that. It was like I wasn't really missing anything, and I wasn't going to play for peanuts. So it's like it just made things a lot easier. So at what point did you kind of think that it was time to make the jump?
So I will give myself credit. I guess there's two sides of my brain working, right? There was the side that, and I think this is just any high level Division I athlete, you kind of have to have this mentality of the dream is always there, and you're always pushing for it because you never know. And I think that's what makes people great. Whereas there's the other side of me that's logical. It's like, okay, this probably, part of the reason I went to college and everything is like the chances of me actually getting to the NHL are extremely thin, and a lot of things got to go my way, and you got to get a little bit lucky, and whatever the case may be. Realistically, my odds were very, very slim with, I was a good player, but I'm not NHL talent player. But I think part of it too was the guys that we had at DU, my classmates. We had a big senior class going into my senior year that we just didn't let each other creep into our head that, maybe we weren't good enough to make the NHL. We just pushed each other every day like we were getting there to get better, because we were just, we were driven to win. We all wanted to win a national championship. We knew, if as long as like teams at the next level, obviously they want to take guys who are winners, who have proven they can win. And so that was just always our mentality, on this side of the brain, that's like, just the driven and just wanting to do everything we can to get to that next level. But I think, for me, it's like, I knew I probably wasn't going to get there. It was just at that point, it was like, okay, I just want to play after college and just drag it out as long as I can, because I love the game. And, I still try to stay active in the game and things like that. And so that was really kind of what it was. I think it was just the competitive nature and of me being an athlete at a high level. So did that answer your whole question?
Yeah, no, it was great. But, you're a proven winner. You won a national championship. What characteristics do you see now in business that you took from when you were playing, and how do you see those things transitioning over? Competitive is a great adjective, but what's your day-to-day looking like right now in terms of what gets you going, what puts that fire in your belly, and to get out and I want to say compete, but it is what it is. It's definitely a competitive industry. Tell us about that.
God, there's so many things. Like my whole hockey career translates over, it feels like. But I will say I was lucky enough to play under Jim Montgomery, and he has a very entrepreneurial CEO mindset of coaching a hockey team. And so there's just a lot of things that I've translated over to him. Like his big thing was called the process, which now you hear it all the time in mainstream sports media, stuff like that. But early on in my career, especially, is so when I was at DU, we had our process. There were 7 different process points, right? Things that you can focus on during the game that you can control. Like how many 55 hits for as the team for the game, you know, taking 0 bad penalties, you know, stuff like little things like that. And so I kind of took that concept. I'm like, okay, how can I translate it to my business and my, you know, my weekly activities is what I would call it. And so I broke it down into 7 different ones, and just trying to remember it off the top of my head. I think it was something like, you know, have 10 conversations a week with people that you don't know, pass out 5 business cards to people you don't know, you know, call 5 people that are within your sphere that you haven't connected with in a while, and just, you know, reconnect there, do 3 open houses a weekend, you know, stuff like that, that are all just time and effort things that kept me busy through, especially the first 6 months when, you know, on average in real estate, you don't sell a home in your first 6 months. And so I was like, okay, what can I do weekly that I can focus on every day that will lead to the results? Because it's easy to be like, okay, I'm going to sell 40 houses this year. And it's like, well, okay, how are you going to sell 40 houses? And so that was my mindset. It was a very process oriented mindset early on. Now I'm to the point where I try to do some of those things still, but I just have built, I guess, a solid enough lead generation system that I have things coming in that I don't have to focus on that as much. You know, I just kind of service what I have in front of me, and then also try to prospect a little bit as I'm going, but it just naturally has been coming as of late. So the process was a big one for me. It's funny, when I was doing open houses, like when you're doing 3 a weekend, by like, you know, the 4th month and you've done a ton of them, they start to get really like, they drag on because you're doing them on weekends. You want to be out, you know, having beers with your buddies and whatever. But so what I started doing is I would pump like Welcome to the Jungle, going to an open house to get like fired, you know, and just like little stuff like that, and get like excited to meet people. Because ultimately, I think going into it, my thought initially was like, okay, I'm going to sell houses to like all my buddies and whatever. And then the first year happened, and I sold 23 houses my first year. And
That's great.
It wasn't to a single person I knew. It was all open house people, or, you know, connecting with other small business owners and stuff like, you know, young business owners, and building that referral network. And what I ended up realizing was, after my first, so my ideal clients were my friends and, you know, people within my sphere. But what I realized is, yeah, they were all there and they were all watching and whatever, but they didn't trust me yet, because they're like, well, you just got in the business. You know, we see our friends who are insurance agents or CFPs or real estate agents are in the business for 3 months and then they're out. And, you know, and you put your time and effort and trust into working with them, and then they're just gone all of a sudden. And so what I realized was that first year was me earning my sphere's trust. So then year 2, okay, I sold 5 or 6 houses to friends. And then now, you know, it's just almost all my business is somehow sourced from a friend or a close relationship I had. So then that ties into my other, I guess, thing that really, from hockey, that translated well, was actually the locker room. And what I found was, and what you guys probably know, is when you meet another hockey guy, it's just like instant connection, you know, and like you shoot the breeze and, you know, and build relationships. And what I found was, from being in a locker room and, you know, playing in so many different places, right? I went to Ann Arbor, I played in Sioux Falls, I played in Denver, played in Kalamazoo, you know, like over in Norway. You have to be able to pop into a situation, create friendships and relationships, build trust with a short period of time. Because like each team every year changes, you know, like my team in Sioux Falls, my first year compared to my second year was a completely different team. And so you have to learn to build relationships really quickly. And when I'm sitting at an open house and I meet a new prospective client, I have to build a relationship really quickly. And I think I got that experience from being in a locker room around guys that I don't know, where you can quickly find ways to connect. You know, sometimes it's stupid little thing. Like, I got a client because I was wearing like a certain type of dress shoes, and he's like, I really like those. And the guy called me a couple of weeks later, and, you know, kind of built a relationship from dress shoes. Or I've gotten deals from, you know, wearing like socks that have like avocados on them. It's like just quirky little things.
Hey, I got those same socks. You got them at J. Crew, dude. I know exactly what those socks are.
Exactly. And so it's like,
dude, I got them on right now. I shit you not.
That's unreal.
I just took it off. Check that out.
Yeah.
How do I get this? Are these them? right here.
Yeah.
With an
Mine are a
avocado?
little different, but very similar, but it's hilarious. Like you just find, stupid little ways to connect with people. And then before you know it, you build the trust and then they're referring you deals. Like my very first client was, he's an attorney in St. Paul, and I love the guy to death. I still haven't even told him he was my very first client. He probably knows, but I'm just
What
too
do you mean? He
nervous.
did hundreds of deals before him, dude. Hundreds of deals.
Yeah, exactly. But the funny thing is I met him and his wife at an open house in just a cracker box house in St. Paul. It was not a nice house, but I ended up following up with them, building a relationship, and he referred me, I think there's 4 deals my first year, and I'm working with the 5th one right now. And so it's just kind of funny how you build a relationship. It just leads to, it spider webs from there. So
True, man.
So hey, true transparency. Funny thing, Matt. I just wrote to Tom. We text each other at the same exact time. Like he's a likable kid, and he goes, "I like him." Like I get literally the same exact time. So that's a testament.
Come work here. This is what we need in this office. Jesus Christ.
So go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
You guys are based out of Chicago, right?
No, we're Connecticut.
Connecticut. Oh, you guys are Connecticut. Okay. Well, my wife would like that. She likes the city, so
yeah.
You never know.
Matt, I want to ask you a question. Hold on, Bob. I want to ask him about the fact that he said before about building trust within your sphere.
Yeah.
What I took from that is everyone knew you as Matt as the hockey guy. Matt was the hockey player. So we talk about this quite a bit on the show, is kind of reinventing your identity as to way people look at you differently now that you're not the hockey guy anymore. You're Matt the husband. You have kids?
Not yet.
Okay, Matt the husband, future father, real estate guy. It's like, how do you? What was that challenging for you in the beginning to kind of shake that identity, and what did you do to kind of recreate yourself?
No, I just bought into it. Initially, my first year, I just had, Matt Van Voorhis Realtor, and then I eventually adopted the Hockey Realtor tagline or brand. And because I was just sitting there, as most of us do, just thinking in the shower or whatever the case may be. And I was like, how do I just tap in? Because for me, they always talk about niching down, right? Like find your niche, find your niche, find your niche. And I was like, well, hockey is my niche. Like I played my whole life.
That's your identity, right?
Yeah, my identity. Like that's how what got me my, my scholarship to earn my degree and whatever was hockey. And so I was like, I want to work with hockey people because one, hockey people are the best. Like you never go and you don't meet too many bad hockey people, right? And two, hockey is a sport financially that, typically you have to be a little bit like upper middle class, maybe a higher class financially to play the sport because it's expensive. And so I was thinking, I was like, okay, my ideal client is hockey people. I also want to work with well-financed people. Like what's more perfect than just like labeling the hockey realtor and just buying into that shtick and being that person. And when I first did it, I was like, holy cow, am I making a huge mistake? Like people who aren't in hockey going to like me, whatever. And I just, my sister-in-law, she's kind of my social media marketing manager. And I talked with her more and we hired somebody to develop a logo and whatever. And we're like, you know what, let's just buy into it and do it. And that's kind of how it came about. And now I'm just kind of, obviously I've got my own business and now I'm just trying to kind of grow a little bit bigger and try to bring on more hockey guys to eventually, build this brand out into something bigger,
Sounds familiar.
Yep, exactly. I have a lot of the same, right?
So this is great. So Matt, we have, I just wrote down a bunch of stuff. Obviously, one of the things that kind of is pretty evident with you is you like to set your goals, right? And then it's going to take a little while to hit those goals. So you have the patience. So, I mean, I like that. I had the same exact thing when I first started. I didn't know where it was going to go. You set a goal. It's real estate. You're going to make money, but you also, it's kind of like working out, right? You trust the process in the summertime. Now you get on the ice towards the end of the, before the season starts. It's just the process of what we go through. It looks like you do a really good job of creating that plan. And just like the hockey mindset, right? You go day by day by day with the knowledge and the confidence that it will all work out. So are you a positive person by nature?
Yeah, I'd say I'm pretty almost like it annoys the hell out of my wife.
I'm the same way, dude. I'm the same exact way. I'm like, dude, hey, shit happens for a reason, man. You know, if something bad happens, guess what? You learn from it, you move on. It's part of the game.
Yeah, exactly. I try to have that same mindset. And, like we all have bad days and whatever, but sometimes you just got to look at the day and just laugh and be like, God, that shit sucked. And, and you just move on, and because the next day will be better. Or, if you have a streak of a little bit, you go on vacation. And like, that's the one secret in real estate they never tell you is if you don't have any deals, just go take a vacation, because then your phone will ring nonstop. So then when you come back, it's again. So
I love it. All right, Tom, I know we're coming up to the 40-minute mark. We don't want to go over this. Any last parting words, Tom?
No, I appreciate the time. I think this was a great episode. A lot of fruitful information. Matt, if guys are in your market, whether it be Denver, whether it be Wisconsin, whether it be Minnesota, wherever it is, if they're looking to make that transition, can they reach out to you and kind of use you as an outlet to kind of maybe jump into this business?
Absolutely. My goal is I just want to help people build businesses and have success. There's enough business out there for everyone to make a lot of money. So I'd love to help people and have conversations with them.
And hire hockey guys.
And hire hockey guys.
There's nothing like hockey guys. What's the best contact info for you, Matt?
Yeah. So you can reach me. My phone number is 952-200-0891. Shoot me a text, shoot me a call, or email me, matt@vanvrealty.com, vanvrealty.com. Or you can find me on Instagram too. I'm the Hockey Realtor on there, and I should pop up. So yeah.
Love it. I appreciate it, Matt. Thank you very much. A lot of great takeaways. We will be cutting up this whenever we release it. We'll send it over to you first and foremost, and then we will be cutting up. There's a lot of nuggets here, so thanks a lot for being open, transparent, and we wish you the best of luck of building an empire with hockey players. Thanks a lot, Matt. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me on.